So I want you to picture something for a second. Imagine you're in Stockholm. You're in one of those, high-end furniture galleries. Everything is silent, the lighting's perfect, lots of brushed metal and monochromatic fabric. It's very
I
composed.
can see it very calm, very Scandinavian.
Right. Now imagine taking that entire room, putting it on four wheels, and launching it down a highway at like 100 kilometers an hour in about 4 seconds.
That is a terrifying image, but I think I know exactly which car we're talking about today.
We are talking about the updated 2026 Polestar 2. This is a car that lives right at that weird intersection where Scandinavian minimalism crashes right into high-performance EV.
It really is a fascinating case study. The EV market right now is incredibly tense. It's, well, polarized. On one side, you have cars that are basically smartphones on wheels.
All screens and gimmicks.
Exactly. Screens, ambient lighting that looks like a disco.
Yeah.
And on the other side, you have the legacy automakers trying to just sort of shove electric batteries into traditional car shapes. And then there's Polestar. They spun off from Volvo to be the avant-garde sedan.
Yeah.
But here's my question, and I think this is the mission for this deep dive. Is that avant-garde label just, marketing speak for it looks pretty, or is there actually some engineering substance under the hood of this 2026 model?
That is the pivotal question. Because you're right, Polestar rests so heavily on design. But for 2026, they claim to have updated all the hidden things, the batteries, the processors, the motors. We have a lot of sources to get through today, reviews from Which Car and Wheels magazine, design deep dives from another magazine, and of course the raw technical specs.
So let's see if the substance matches the style. Because looking at the photos, it definitely has a vibe. It doesn't look like a normal sedan.
No, and that's deliberate. The industry calls it a fastback silhouette. It's 461 centimeters long and 148 centimeters high.
Which puts it in this weird middle ground. It's not an SUV, but it feels a bit chunkier than a normal car. Exactly. It's compact, but it has this muscular stance. One of the reviewers described it as a thug in a tuxedo, which I think is just brilliant.
Oh, I love that.
It's polite,
Right.
but it looks like it could handle itself in a fight.
I can see it.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the front of the car because this is where I feel like marketing teams get a little carried away. In the 2026 update, they've changed the grille area.
Right, the face of the car.
And they've given it a name. They call it the Smart Zone.
They do.
Come on. Smart Zone. It sounds like a section of a high school library. Is this actually a technical upgrade, or did they just, glue a piece of plastic over the radiator hole?
It's a fair skepticism.
Yeah.
I mean, historically, cars have grills because engines need to breathe. They need oxygen for combustion, airflow for cooling.
Sure.
An EV doesn't need to breathe in the same way. So a lot of manufacturers just put a blank plastic slate there, and it looks kind of unfinished.
Like a mouth with no lips?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? It looks like a mask. Polestar decided to celebrate the change. They shifted the philosophy from breathing to seeing, so that Smart Zone isn't just a cover. It's a cluster of sensors.
Okay.
It houses the mid-range radar and the cameras for the safety systems. They've grouped the car's sensory organs into one distinct design element.
So functionally, it's just consolidating the hardware.
Exactly. Instead of hiding sensors all over the bumper, they made them a focal point. It's an honest design choice. It says, this car sees the world, it doesn't eat air.
Okay, I can respect that a bit more than just a fancy name. And I assume the lights are part of this whole seeing identity.
They are. You've got the Thor's Hammer LED headlights, which is the obvious nod to the Volvo heritage.
Yeah.
But the rear is what really lands the design for me.
The light bar.
The blade. It's 288 individual LEDs in a wrapping strip. And the cool tech detail here is that it's adaptive. The intensity of that red light actually changes based on the ambient light around you.
Oh, so it doesn't blind the person behind you at a stoplight?
Precisely.
Yeah.
It's a considerate Scandinavian engineering.
Speaking of Scandinavian, we have to touch on the interior themes before we get to the mechanics. I read that the head of design, Maximilian Missoni, based the interior colorways on cities.
Yes, this is quite high concept. They moved away from just calling things beige or black. They have themes inspired by Shanghai, Berlin, and London.
Which means what exactly?
So Shanghai is the inspiration for the light themes with gold accents. Berlin is the inspiration for the darker, sort of brutalist gray textures, very industrial.
Okay.
And London is the sleek black. The idea is to create a modern digital interpretation of luxury. It's not about wood grain and chrome anymore.
It sounds moody. I like it. But let's be real, a moody interior doesn't get me to work on time. Let's talk about the actual machinery. The outline mentions a brain upgrade for 2026.
This is arguably more important than the paint colors. The 2026 Polestar 2 is running on the Qualcomm Snapdragon cockpit platform.
Okay, I see Snapdragon on Android phone specs. Why does it matter in my car? Is it just so Spotify opens faster?
That's part of it. But think about the sheer amount of data a modern car processes. You have maps rendering in 3D, you have voice recognition, you have the interface for the climate control. If that processor lags, even for half a second, it feels cheap.
It's the frozen phone panic, but you're doing 100 on the highway.
Exactly. Lag is the enemy of luxury. And frankly, legacy automakers have been terrible at this.
Yeah.
Their screens are often clunky and slow compared to an iPad. By using this Snapdragon chip, Polestar is ensuring the car reacts instantly. It makes the digital experience feel as premium as the physical one.
And it's still running the Google built-in system.
Yes, Android Automotive OS. It's the first car to do this natively. Google Maps, Assistant, the Play Store. It's all the car's native language. You don't have to plug in your phone to get a decent navigation experience.
Which is a huge plus. But let's address the elephant in the room for every EV buyer. Range. Did the 2026 update actually give us more miles, or is it just software tweaks?
They did some serious surgery here. They actually changed the battery chemistry. The entry-level model, the standard range single motor, now uses a 70 kilowatt-hour battery from CATL.
CATL is the massive Chinese battery supplier, right?
Biggest in the world. And this switch bumped the range from 546 kilometers up to 554 kilometers on the WLTP cycle.
That sounds incremental. 8 kilometers.
On the base model, yes, it's a small nudge. But the efficiency gains are better realized in the long-range single-motor version. That one is now rated up to 659 kilometers.
Okay, 659 kilometers is significant. That's a serious road trip without stopping.
It is. But I'm going to argue that range is actually the secondary stat here. The more important update for the owner's quality of life is the charging curve.
Why?
Because sitting at a charger is the only painful part of EV ownership. The 2026 update increased the max charging speed to 180 kilowatts.
Translate that to time for me.
You can go from 10% to 80% charge in 26 minutes.
26 minutes.
That's a bathroom break and grabbing a coffee. By the time you're back, you're ready to go. And that's the key. If you can charge that fast, you don't really need a 1,000-kilometer battery. You just need to know you won't be stranded at a plug for an hour.
That does change the psychology of it. Okay, so we've got a smarter brain, a decent battery. Now I want to talk about the part that kind of conflicts with the whole eco-friendly vibe. The performance. Because this car is fast.
It is surprisingly fast. The long-range dual-motor performance model hits 0 to 100 kilometers per hour in 4.2 seconds.
4.2 seconds. That is faster than a lot of dedicated sports cars from, like, a decade ago.
It puts out 350 kilowatts, which is roughly 476 horsepower, in a car the size of a compact sedan.
But here is where I get confused, and this is where I need you to explain the logic to me. You can buy the performance pack, right?
Correct.
And that gives you these fancy Öhlins dampers.
The Öhlins DFV dual-flow valve dampers, gold-painted, beautiful engineering.
Sure, they look cool, but I read that they are manually adjustable. So wait, I'm buying a car that has Google built into the dashboard, it has radar eyes, it has a Snapdragon brain. But if I want to change the suspension softness, I have to physically get out of the car.
You do. You have to get on your knees, reach into the wheel well, or pop the hood for the fronts, and turn a physical clicker knob. There are 22 positions.
That seems completely ridiculous. Why wouldn't they just put a sport mode button on the screen like everyone else? Is this just pretension?
I can see why you'd think that.
Yeah.
And for 99% of people, it is an inconvenience. But for that 1% who are true car nerds, it's a love letter.
A love letter involving grease on your hands.
Maybe. But think about it. Electronic suspension is easy. It's vague. It's a computer guessing what you want. A manual damper is pure mechanical feedback. It forces you to interact with the machine. It says, we built this chassis to be tuned, and we trust you to tune it. It's an analog anchor in a digital sea.
Okay, I kind of get the romance of it, but I'm just picturing myself in the rain, trying to click a knob behind a muddy tire, wondering why I paid $85,000 for this privilege.
That is a very valid critique. It's certainly not for everyone. That's why it's an option pack. You don't have to have it.
Fair enough. Let's talk about another nerdy term I saw in the specs, unsprung weight. The 2026 model has new wheels that are lighter. Why does the weight of the wheel matter when the car itself weighs like 2 tons?
This is a great physics concept. A car has 2 types of weight, sprung and unsprung. Sprung is everything sitting on top of the suspension, the chassis, the passengers, the battery.
Got it.
Unsprung is everything below the suspension that moves up and down with the road. The wheels, tires, brakes.
Okay.
Imagine running in heavy hiking boots versus light running shoes.
Right.
Your body weight hasn't changed. But if your feet are heavy, the unsprung weight, it's harder to react quickly to the ground.
Yeah.
You feel sluggish. If your feet are light, you can dance. You can react to bumps instantly.
So by making the wheels lighter, the suspension can react faster.
Exactly. It improves the handling and the ride comfort simultaneously. It's a small detail, but it shows they're obsessing over the driving dynamics, not just the touchscreen size.
And speaking of driving dynamics, the chassis itself, how stiff is this thing? Because usually these fastbacks can feel a bit floppy compared to a sedan.
Not this one. Because the battery is integrated right into the floor, it creates this immense structural plate. It increases the torsional rigidity, how much the car resists twisting, by 35%.
No, it's a brick.
It's a very fast, very rigid brick. And because that weight is so low, the center of gravity is low. It corners flat. It doesn't roll around like an SUV.
Okay, let's move inside the brick. We talked about the moody colors, but what about the materials? Polestar makes a big deal about being vegan.
They use a material called Weave Tech.
Weave Tech, again with the names, is this just glorified polyester?
It is a synthetic material, yes. It was apparently inspired by high-end diving suits and sportswear. It's water-based, dirt-resistant, and it's significantly lighter than leather.
But does it feel expensive? Because there is a risk here. If I'm cross-shopping this against a BMW or a Mercedes, I'm used to the smell and feel of, dead cow.
That is the risk. Some traditionalists get in and say, where's the luxury? But Polestar is trying to redefine luxury. They're saying luxury is durability, sustainability, and technical precision. It's a clean, matte finish, not a shiny, crinkly one.
And if I absolutely must have a leather.
You can still get it. They offer Napa leather, but they verify it's chrome-free and traceable, so it's guilt-free leather, essentially.
Now, practicality. I'm an adult. I have groceries. I have a dog, luggage. The fastback shape, does it ruin the trunk space?
It actually helps it because the rear glass lifts up with the hatch. You have a huge opening. It's not a mail slot like a sedan trunk. You get 446 liters of space, or nearly 1,100 if you fold the seats down.
And the front? The front trunk?
It's there, 41 liters.
41 liters. That's a backpack.
It's basically cable storage. Don't plan on putting your weekly shop in there, but it keeps the muddy charging cables out of your nice, clean trunk, which is valuable.
Let's talk numbers. The price. We're using Australian pricing as our baseline here. Where does this land?
It starts at roughly 62,400 AUD for the standard range. That's your entry ticket.
Okay.
If you want the big battery, you're at roughly 66,400. But if you want the monster, the dual motor performance with all the speed, you're looking at about 85,000 AUD.
That is a widespread. And at 85 grand, you are squarely in Tesla Model 3 performance territory. Actually, you might be paying a premium over the Tesla. Why would someone choose the Polestar?
That's the critical market question. The Tesla is faster in a straight line. It has the supercharger network. But the Polestar, it feels like a car.
What does that mean?
It has a dashboard driver display. It has a build quality that feels dense and curated. It doesn't feel like a gadget. It feels like a piece of automotive engineering that just happens to be electric. If you want a computer, buy the Tesla. If you want a car, you look at the Polestar.
That distinction really helps clarify it. So let's try to pull all these threads together. We have a car with a smart zone face, a Snapdragon brain, manual suspension knees, and a vegan suit.
It's character, isn't it?
It is. But what's the takeaway here? Is the 2026 update enough to keep it relevant?
I think it proves that Polestar's playing the long game. This isn't a revolution. They didn't reinvent the wheel. It's an evolution.
They polished the rough edges?
Exactly. They kept the aesthetic, that distinctive minimalism, but they fixed the friction points. The screen is faster. The charging is faster. The efficiency is better. They are maturing as a manufacturer.
It feels like they're confident enough now to not just be Volvo's cousin.
Absolutely. With the Polestar 3 setting range records recently, and this car solidifying its identity, they are carving out a niche. They are defining luxury not as more chrome, more noise, but as silence and intelligence.
Silence is the new luxury. I think that's a powerful idea to end on.
It really is.
Now, before we sign off, we have something important to do. We usually just say goodbye and fade out, but today we want to take a specific moment.
Yes, we do.
To you, the person listening to this right now.
We know how busy the world is. There is infinite content out there. You could be listening to anything. But you chose to spend the last, what, 15 minutes with us, diving into battery chemistry and suspension damping?
We don't take that for granted. Your time and your curiosity are what make this show possible. We love doing the research, but it means nothing without you on the other end.
So thank you, truly.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for learning with us. Keep questioning what's under the hood.
And we'll see you in the next deep dive.